Hey, what's up? My fearless networking friend, Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode. Okay, so we are living in this video age. Video is the dominant thing that people are consuming online, and there's just a ton of video content being produced through Facebook Lives or YouTube videos or Zooms or, whatever, FaceTime. I mean, it could be any of the above where somebody's on video and they're communicating a message. And I think there's a lot of people out there that just, and I did this. I mean, I just flicked on the camera and started talking to the camera. And very uncomfortable at first, of course, because it's like staring into a lens is kind of a different thing than looking eyeball to eyeball with somebody. And so over the years, like even if you went back through all of my posts, I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube, and you were to go all the way back to the beginning when I first started putting them out, like probably in 2005, you're going to see a dramatic change in the quality and the sound and the framing and the composition and all of that, because I, really learned how to do this over time. And, I want to help you shorten your learning curve and make it just a little bit easier. And you can do this without spending a bunch of money. You can produce really high quality video, and you can do it. Honestly, you can do it from your mobile device. The cameras that are available on iPhones and Galaxies now are so good that, I mean, they're really, really good quality. But just because you got a great lens doesn't mean that you're going to produce exceptional video quality. And I just think that given the environment that we're in today, that's so video rich, I don't think you can afford to do bad stuff. So I just want to give you kind of a basic, quick little education on producing better quality video. So no matter how you're doing it. And look, for example, I'm on Zoom all the time. And, you got people that are on Zoom. I think if you're showing up for a Zoom, even as an observer, you should be thinking about the composition of you in the frame. You should be thinking about what are you doing to make the video, let's say you're just watching, you're an observer, you're there learning, but your camera's on. What are you doing to create an environment where it's an appealing look where you're at? Like, for example, what's behind me is purposeful, it's intentional. It wasn't an accident that I set up this shot or this frame in this manner. In fact, anytime I'm shooting, I'm thinking about, I'll give you, in fact, let's cover the basics so that you're able to produce better quality video, okay? Number one is lighting, right? So you want to be not shadowy. You don't want shadows up against the wall. So if you're using a ring light or anything else for that matter, you don't want to have like this big shadow behind you. So every time you're moving, your shadow's moving. Like you can see some shadows behind me, but you don't see the shadow of me, in the background, which ends up distracting you. That's not good. So before you ever even, turn the camera on and begin shooting, you want to be looking at making sure that you got good light. So good lighting is important. Sometimes natural light outdoors is great. Sometimes it can be too hot because there's so much sunshine. There's certain times of the day for outdoor video. It's called the golden hour, which is like that last hour before sunset. It's like a perfect time to do videography and photography. But not all the time, of course, are we shooting at at sundown. So obviously I'm shooting this video indoors. Right over here, I've got a ring light. I've got other lighting in my room here, which gives me enough light where I don't have to have a box or a soft box or some of this other stuff. But you can do great lighting for virtually no money. So if you can grab lights in your house and kind of move them around, I've done that. But certainly, first and foremost, I think you need to be well lit. Start looking around when you're on the next Zoom and see what people look like. They're dark. They've got a window behind them that's bringing in all this light, which makes them look all shadowed out. Or maybe they're sitting here and they're way down here and their heads poking up, or they're up here and they're trying to do video, or And I also like the camera ideally wants to be at face, at the level of where your eyes are. So when I'm looking into this camera, the camera that I'm looking at right now is really right at eye level. That's actually between chin and eye level, which is a good spot to be. So If it's too low, you don't want it to be down here. You don't want it to be too up high, so you're having to look up. You really want it to be at an even level. Ideally as well, a tripod like the camera that I'm looking into right now is on a tripod, so it's easy for me to, I'm not holding the camera and shaking. Now, I've done a lot of lives and other things where I'm holding the camera, but you can also grab, pretty, easy little miniature tripod. You can throw your iPhone on it. Now, again, I mentioned you can do this for free or virtually free. The lighting thing is not really that big of a deal. Then we want to think about the composition. Like there's a thing called the rule of thirds, and I would even go do some very basic research and just look up video composition or photography composition rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds basically is talking about dividing the lens or the space here into thirds. So there would be a line across this third, and there would be a line across this third. So this is the upper third, this is the lower third. And then if we're going to divide it this way, you've got the left third, or depending on how you're looking at this might be your right third, this third and this third. So we're dividing the entire screen into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. And ideally, you want your eyes to be on the upper third, right? So if I was down here, I'm kind of in the middle of the frame. Up here, I'm in the upper third. So my eyes are really right around the upper third of, if we're dividing the video that you're seeing, the area of focus here is divided into thirds. So, but you can actually see that online and kind of see what I'm talking about. And the other thing is, like, when you start looking at, television commercials, movies, TV shows, you can see that they're constantly utilizing the rule of thirds. And this is something that when you start paying attention to it, you'll be able to pick up on it. So very important that you've got great lighting. Number two, the framing and the composition, understanding the rule of thirds. Number three is your background, right? So what's behind you? Is there a tree or a bush directly behind you, or can you imagine a big round not hairy, but a big round bush behind me in the background with my bald head, and then I've got the bush back there. It looks like there's a giant chia pet coming out of my head. That's probably not a good idea. Or there's a light post that's like coming out behind my head and it looks like it's sticking out of my head. I've seen people do shots like that. I don't think it's a good idea either to be shooting up against a blank wall, like where you've got a white wall or a gray wall right behind you. A lot of times, this is pretty easy for you to do, is to design some locations inside of your house or your office that are specifically for doing shots. So like this shot, this angle is specific. I have one from over here too. I'm not going to change it right now, but I have another camera over here, and so I can take this angle. I have another one over here where there's a totally different angle. I have a spot downstairs that is mapped out where it's got a nice background and I don't have weird stuff poking out of my head. So you want to think about what's going on behind you while, before you even like press record on your video camera. And then sound is important. So I'm on a wireless lavalier microphone. The mic's right here. And now your camera, like let's say your iPhone, the audio is fine on that. But if you want to get rid of ambient room noise or just you're picking up on other noise around you, using a microphone like this will dramatically increase the quality of the audio. So that's something that you can do, and it's cheap to do it. There's plug-in mics for iPhones where you can just run it up underneath your shirt and you can have it over here, and then the sound is only coming and being picked up on the microphone rather than picking up on all the other stuff in the room. Now, I'm not going to really do this, but I've got another, I don't know if you can even see it here in the frame, but I've got a Yeti Blue microphone that's on a shock mount that when I'm shooting and I'm doing Zooms, instead of using my computer's microphone, I use that microphone, and you can tell an immediate and monstrous difference between the sound that comes from your tiny little microphone on your laptop versus one of these things, and it just massively increases the quality of what you're putting out. Now, another thing, and I'll say this and then I'll finish it up, is when it comes to doing Facebook Lives or Zooms, something that I see people do all the time, and this is just we're naturally drawn to do this, is if you're staring at your laptop, you've got your microphone on the top of your laptop, or excuse me, your camera at the top of the laptop, and then you've got your screen right here, and you're talking to somebody on Zoom. Well, our eyes are going to be drawn to the person to give eye contact to the person. But when you look back at the video, you're actually like, if you notice right now, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking at the tripod, which, if it was my laptop, might be my laptop screen. So if I'm sitting here doing a training and talking to you, it doesn't even look like I'm giving you eye contact because I'm not. But now I'm looking right into the camera lens. So this is a habit that a lot of people, I think, a bad habit a lot of people need to break. And that's the same thing with, holding up your phone and doing a Facebook Live. You're looking at yourself rather than looking directly into the lens. So what you want to be doing is looking directly into the lens, because then it creates a better connection with your audience. Because think about this, do you feel well connected to me right now as I'm talking to you and I'm looking at my tripod? No, you don't, because I'm not looking at you. But as soon as I give you eye contact, you feel like there's a connection. Now, of course, this is on video, or for some of you guys that might be plugging into me on my podcast. By the way, if you're plugging into me on my podcast, you want to come over and catch the video episode of this, and you can find it at toddfalcone.com/episode 119. That's toddfalcone.com/episode 119. So to produce better quality video, it doesn't take much. Just think about this: lighting, sound, framing, or video composition, background. The other thing, eye contact with the lens. And then the other thing is, what are you going to talk about? Does it feel like or look like I've got some script in front of me? Now, I've done long videos where I've actually created a teleprompter. It's funny, my wife laughs. It's like a piece of cardboard that I cut a hole to fit the lens, and it literally surrounds my camera. It's like a piece of cardboard like this. So if I was doing a really long video and I needed some trigger notes and I didn't want to look down or look over here, I could just kind of look to the left right there and see a word, and then I would be able to continue on that subject if I'm doing an like a 25 or 30-minute video or longer. But the other thing is, like, before I ever shoot, including this shot, I thought about, okay, what am I going to say during this particular episode? And so I thought about the points that I was going to make, and of course I've done this enough times where I don't necessarily need to have notes in front of me, but there's nothing wrong with having notes. And I mean, you could tape it up like right below. I put sticky notes in front of me. I've sometimes had notes on my desk, and then I could just kind of look down and see a word, and I could, it's like, as long as you're not doing this, like, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say? All right, wait, okay, that's not going to cut it. So, but knowing what you're going to cover and having that information in front of you is certainly going to help you do a better job of not only producing better videos, but the content in the video. So lighting, sound, composition, framing, your background, your positioning on the camera, and I think you'll do a great job. And again, you can do it with pretty, like, I'm shooting off of a DSLR, but it doesn't have to be like that. You can shoot off of an iPhone or any other mobile device, because the cameras are really good, as long as you're thinking about all the other things. And there's not that many things, but there's a few things that you want to think about before you press the record button. So again, if you're on my YouTube channel, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you're on my podcast and you're getting this on audio, you definitely want to plug over to toddfalcone.com/episode 119 to get the details of it. Of course, I take any questions from you guys. Feel free to, in the comments section, give me your comments or your questions, and I'm happy to come back and do another episode based on any questions that you might have. So hope you're having a beautiful day. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next episode.